Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining our second podcast. And we're going to be talking more about perfecting the BRRRR method. And last time we talked about 5 essential elements of perfecting this method. And so now we're going to be talking about one of the most important elements, and that is the construction side. So we're very fortunate today to have very experienced licensed builder here in the state of Michigan. Also, I could proudly say he completed my last renovation very successfully in Auburn Hills. That turned out really nice. And the experience he has is just unbelievable. Besides being a licensed builder, he has successfully renovated homes for his real estate investment. It's just great that you have somebody that has the experience of being an investor and a builder at the same time. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Sam Talib.
Thank you very much, Rick. I am humbled and honored to be here. I am very fortunate I found what I love. I started out as a real estate agent, and then as an investor, and then as a licensed builder. And luckily for me, I did not give up one to keep the other. I was lucky to just make it in a unique career for myself, and now I'm very passionate about what I do, and I'm glad I'm able to guide other investors along the way.
So we're gonna ask you to go into a very important thing, and that is, in the process, at what point do you recommend getting a licensed general contractor involved with your purchase?
Great question. I would say way early on, before considering buying that one particular property. It would be great to get to know a general contractor when you consider investing in real estate, but early on, it's definitely very essential.
So we were talking about before about creating a team to be successful in the BRRRR method, and we were kind of joking about if you were put in a position today where you're going to become the general manager of Detroit Lions, obviously you have limited experience of being a general manager of a professional football sports team, right?
Yes.
So what would you need to do in order to be successful? You'd have to do what?
I have to hire a knowledgeable, the best general contractor I can get.
That's it. That's it. So hopefully that'll help our next season. In the process of hiring the general contractor, you're talking about at the very beginning of the process,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Because one of the most important pieces to the puzzle is you may have an idea what the seller is looking at asking for the property, what you may end up with on the purchase price. You may also have somewhat of an idea of what the home could resell for. So we were talking about that term ARV, the improved value of the real estate. So in order to be able to know if the math of the BRRRR method is going to work, we only have 70% of the new improved value to work with. So that little piece of the puzzle, which is really the biggest piece, is the renovation budget.
Yes.
So how would you recommend getting the renovation budget put together?
Absolutely. So this is the most essential part of having a really good general contractor on your team, because you and him together need to be able to put up a detailed budget of the renovation cost, which it does not just limit to how much is the construction, but also the carrying cost of the project, property taxes, and a lot of the hidden costs that can happen. Some of the things that the materials you're going to be using, all those things need to be considered when you are allocating the budget correctly.
You brought up a very common mistake that a lot of newer investors make, is they don't have any expectation of hidden costs.
Yeah.
They may have somebody say, hey, look, this is a ballpark, it's going to cost you this much to do the renovation, but what kind of hidden costs have you experienced?
There's always going to be hidden costs, to be honest. However, I'll just give you real life examples.
Yeah.
In winter time, you cannot test out your central air. But that's also a hidden cost. Also, if the roof is covered up with snow, how you're going to be climbing up to see, what it looks like. All those things are hidden costs. That's aside from potential structure damages and things like that that need you to take a look into the project further than just some pictures or a quick walkthrough.
And you mentioned one of the major systems, the window system,
Yes,
might be affected during the winter and you don't know it.
you don't know it.
So when we go to test the opening and closing of the window, many times it's like not even movable.
So that's a hidden cost, and that can be very, very costly.
So one of the processes in this investment business, sometimes you may make the choice of not keeping the property as a long-term rental. You might say, you know what, I think I'm going to eventually sell the property. I might rent it for a while, but eventually I may want to sell it. And who's going to show up to the house to look at it?
A home inspector.
Right.
Yeah.
And if he sees that the windows are not too movable, what is he going to tell his buyer?
Well, it needs to be replaced.
So what is the average cost of just a modest window today, to replace one?
$1,000.
So they could really eat into your budget quite a bit if you have like 3, 4, or 5 of those, right?
Of course. Or the whole house. That's average 10 windows.
So yeah, hidden cost is something that you really need to have an experienced general contractor to help you walk through that. Let's move on a little bit here. I wanted to talk to you about other rehab mistakes that people make that can cost them a lot of money. You were mentioning before, sometimes people don't have a really good comprehension of the cost of the materials and the labor, right?
Yes.
So here's what happens. You got an estimate from your general contractor, and all of a sudden you find out that he's about a month or 2 away from being able to start the job because he's a good general contractor, he's kind of booked.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, you know what, I want to have somebody jump in there like right away. And then they come out and they give you a ballpark estimate, but when they actually get going, they keep coming back to you for more and more money. Why is that?
Right. So my recommend, and sadly this is common. What I recommend is you have to have multiple bids right off the beginning, and you have to have multiple people on your team. So when somebody is delayed, you're able to go with a second person. But also to your note, why things keep coming up differently. It's because it should be the responsibility of the investor knowing ahead of time what things are going to be changed. It should not be up to the general contractor while you're in the middle of the project why things should be changing now. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
So maybe that new contractor he had says, this work is going to involve maybe some of the mechanicals have to be changed.
Yes.
There's maybe a wall that you want to open up so that like the kitchen looks into the main living area more.
Sure.
So the contractor says, hey, let's just get going. If we get in trouble with the city, let's just ask for forgiveness, right?
No.
Would you recommend?
No, absolutely not. Your contractor and yourself should be able to abide by the local ordinances, and anytime things that require a building permit need to be done by a building permit, because that can cause you a red tag, which is a stop work order. Now also, could things have changed along the renovation process? Yes, but that requires the investor, which is I recommend when you're investing in a property, it's not just a give it to the contractor and let him deal with it. It's another full-time job that you're taking on. You should be involved in every, in the small details, because those can make or break the project.
One of the other problems is time. So let's say that you went along with that what the general contractor said, we're just going to keep working, and then all of a sudden there's a red tag on the property.
Yes,
It could be weeks before you get that clear, right?
of course.
And what do you think what might happen to your contractor?
Well, it is several things. One, he should have been, he should have informed me if something that needed to have a permit, and shame on him for not letting me, because now I have to deal with the problem. But I would, I would look into resolving this ASAP, and if that contractor should not be on the job anymore, then we'll have to make a decision.
Well, the other thing too is the city could have an attitude towards this house, right?
Sure.
Because you try to do it without a permit, so
Yes.
they're always going to be looking over your shoulder, right?
100%.
And then the other thing that happens too is you take a look at what the city's charging you. They have penalties. It could be in the thousands of dollars sometimes if you don't pull the permit, right?
100%.
So it's not worth rolling the dice, right?
No. Even you look at it this way, if you end up getting a red tag, now even when you resolve the misunderstanding and you have a building permit now, the city will not be as friendly as if they were had you came up front right off the beginning, because remember they are still going to walk the property. It's the same people and they're going to look at it, and now you don't want them to go too hard on you. You just want him to do his job, and in a sense it even gives protection. I look at it from their perspective. If you were to sell the property at one point, or if you were to rent it out, this is your leverage. Everything had been inspected by the city, which is just like a badge of honor. It's something that this property now has been certified. It's it's a qualification. It should be looked at that way.
So let's say that you did everything right, and the one thing that you might not have been able to do is look inside the walls, right? Because no one has X-ray vision other than Superman, right? Okay. Now sometimes you find things that I can't believe, but by and large, you just can't look inside the walls to determine that there's a problem, right?
Yes.
So we're at the house, and this is a home that we purchased that say was maybe a year or two in foreclosure, so no one's been in this house for a long time, and usually those homes aren't heated, right?
Yes.
So it's cold, right? So here comes the most interesting day. You go, hey, you better come out to the property because we're pressuring up the plumbing for the first time. What happens when you pressure up the plumbing?
Oh my God, you could have pipes bursting just like that.
You'll be surprised. What the plumber usually says is, you go in the living room, you go in the kitchen, and then you go upstairs. And so the minute that one of the pipes bursts, he's expecting something to burst.
Yes.
Then he's going to shut off the main,
Right.
and then he's going to go and fix that one. And then he's going to try to pressure up again and then go fix another one, right?
Another one breaks.
So it's very important to have a certain amount of money set aside above your construction budget. And what do you call that?
Contingency fund.
Right. So what would you recommend percentage-wise to when you're new at it to start off? How much?
Yeah. So of course, this is going to be variable, and it's going to vary property by property. First, your general contractor that walked the property with you should be able to, let you know, because some properties could have a lot of things that could go wrong later on, if it's a boiler system,
Right.
or if it's the house is covered up with snow. You never know. Some pipes could be rusty, some electrical wires could be really, really outdated. But at 20 to 30% is healthy to be in the safety net, but again, that requires a lot of verification from the general contractor and the property itself.
So the good news is that as a professional lender, we can many times build as much as 10% into your renovation loan extra for contingencies. So your lender will actually have a pool of money there waiting for you for those type of problems.
Good. Yeah, good. And the more time you spend into that budget that you're mentioning right now, the better idea you will, the better you will manage your project.
So we were talking a little bit earlier about, I think an important part is, like we were talking about, taking out a wall, opening up the house, okay? So would that be a cosmetic repair or a structural repair?
No, so a cosmetic repair should not be anything noticeable as soon as you walk in, aside from painting, flooring, hardware, maybe some doors, anything where it can be just a finished carpentry, a skilled labor can finish it. The moment you're starting to open up walls or changing electrical systems or plumbing or anything like that, in addition, a roof, a concrete, those things are structural, and it requires sometimes multiple people, so different trades, requires a building permit. Sometimes it may require an architect. It just depends.
So when you're forming your team, and if you're going to be involved with maybe more sophisticated renovations where you're moving walls and what have you, one of your team members that we didn't mention the first time around, we're going to add that. We're going to make that number 8 person on your team, and that might be a licensed architect to have at your disposal. Many times what they're able to do is they're able to come out to the house and they can do like a rough drawing, and they'll say, look, if you go to do this, this is what's expected, and you show that to your general contractor.
Yes.
He should be able to bid that out, right?
100%.
Okay. Then when the time comes when you go to the city to say, we need a permit to do this, you would have your budgets already in place, because they need to know that too, because part of their inspection fees is usually what the overall cost of the renovation is, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's all good stuff to do. So what I'd like to do now is we kind of covered having the general contractor as your most important team member. We covered the fact that there's a lot of mistakes that can be made in this area and what you can do to protect yourself. And we also talked about how to not only establish a budget, but also create this contingency fund just in case of things going wrong, or maybe even right. You might just decide while you're in the renovation, you might say, you know what, I'd like to upgrade my countertops from mica to granite because we've been staying in budget so good. I want to spend a little bit extra, maybe juice up the house a little bit, right?
Yes, of course. And sometimes we come, there's many projects where we're almost to the end and we are under budget, and I suggest to the investor, hey, we can use a nice upgrade.
Sure.
Since we've met budget.
Or the time of year that we're in right now, we're obviously in winter, but let's just say that you start your next project. It might not be until March that you're actually out on the site doing something. So what happens right after March?
Snow melts.
And then you have the outside to consider now, and all of a sudden you can see the lawn again.
Yes.
You can see the flower beds and everything. So if you're thinking about either going for full market rent or to flip the house, you're going to maybe want to do a little bit of landscaping to kind of spice it up a little bit, right?
The house, absolutely.
So having maybe a little bit extra money to turn to, you stayed within your budget pretty good. And so you say, you know what, I could use another $1,000. I want to, redo the flower beds, just in the front of the house.
Yes. And to me, those are the things that make a difference in the house.
So we talked about, establishing a good budget. We talked very importantly about not crossing the line when it comes to city certification of your home, so you can get your occupancy permit for either your tenant or home buyer.
Yes.
So these are all the ingredients of construction, and we only touched on it lightly. We're going to ask Sam if it's okay if you can come back maybe in a couple of weeks and be able to go and dig into this a little bit more in detail, because there's so much that you need to learn. We kind of just scratched the surface today. So would you be able to come back?
I would love to.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, well, I just want to say to everybody here, we're kind of on a journey here at the BRRRR Method team. We want to make sure that everybody out there is going to have an opportunity to get educated in this awesome opportunity, real estate investment. And if you notice, we're not selling anything. So this is strictly for education. obviously, you know, if you're looking for teammates, we're here to make recommendations to you. But use whoever you want to use. But if you need some advice, obviously, you just go to the website and you click and you can have a half an hour with me with no charge. Thank you very much and have a great day.